Okay, can everyone take your seats, please? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, the meeting will come back to order. Audrey and myself, we've got some things to do here after a while, so we're going to go ahead and switch the batting order up here a little bit. Councilman Longcart, you're going to be on here. We're going to go to item 13B, which is a request for reconsideration of a vote on September 18th by Councilmember Longcart. Councilmember Longcart.
Well, thank you, Mayor. This is a situation that came about because of a vote that I made a few weeks ago in reference to the library and keeping it within the county structure. And I had some second thoughts about it, third thoughts, fourth thoughts, as I went home that night and did some more reading. And I called our attorney and asked if I could have it rescheduled because I want to change my vote to bring the library into the city with all the pieces of the puzzle that they're the same basically as the county, except we would control our own destiny. And one of the most sticking, while I was away last week, there was an email circulated about something about that we would pay a double tax. There's no intention, from my perspective, to have to pay the library tax to the county and pay it to the Bonita Springs. So that is not true. And I will be speaking at Village Walk on November the 5th in reference to this matter because of the concerns that people have expressed to me over there. It's a public meeting. It'll be at 7 p.m. in their recreation center. So I would like to make, I don't know the orders you can help
Audrey,
me.
would you please explain the procedure for the councilman?
Thank you. First of all, we have an administrative code dealing with rules of procedure for city council meetings. When there is a vote and city council decides to change a vote, and that's what happened in the case of the library on at the September 18th city council meeting, council did a vote on the library system, and the vote was to remain with the existing library system. Councilman Longcart called me almost immediately, or relatively immediately, asking about reconsideration, and I provided him a memorandum dated September 18th, the same day as the meeting, as to changing your vote. And the procedure for doing a change of vote, and it's contemplated in our administrative code, is that City Council does a two-step process. First of all, you have the correct, and one of the things, if you saw in the beginning when you started, I started counting council members because I needed all 7 of you here in order for the reconsideration to be considered, because that's a requirement. Also a requirement is that there is no injury to somebody that has to be brought up at a near foreseeable time so that the people can, and again, it has to be, the person on the prevailing side has to be the one eligible to take the motion. So Councilman Longcart is eligible. So at this point, it'd be a two-step process. One, council would vote whether or not to allow the reconsideration. If that vote passes, at that point, the action taken at the September 18th will be rescinded, and then City Council can take another vote if they decide to take that vote, and that would be either the last action would remain in effect as to the resolution number 1320, which is the library task force recommendation to stay with the library system, or they can take an alternative action. So 2 steps. You guys got it?
No, do it again.
No, do it again.
Okay, without repeating everything,
Yeah,
the
the
first
2 steps.
motion,
Yeah.
the first motion would be whether to allow reconsideration, which would rescind the vote taken on September 18th.
And allow there to be a revote,
Correct,
possibly,
on that issue.
on that issue.
That would rescind
So
the
you are,
action.
you're not, that what it does, it just rescinds the previous vote and then allows the opportunity for another motion to be made.
Correct.
So
Wait,
that would be the first one.
Wait, 1 second. A reconsideration does rescind the vote. So once you make a
Does.
motion to reconsider, that's rescinding that vote.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why you need the like capacity and everything. So an adoption of a motion to reconsider shall rescind the action reconsidered.
Yes.
So that's the September 18th
But
vote.
that doesn't preclude, then there can either be another motion made or there may not be another motion
Correct.
made.
Correct.
If there's another motion made, we'll it could be of whatever type.
Whatever city council desires. If there's no motion, the last action is to continue with the resolution which supports the library task force recommendation to go and have the feasibility study and everything else.
So this isn't, even though it's a motion of reconsideration, council, when you vote for this, what you're actually doing is rescinding the action that was taken before.
Correct.
Right?
And that's right out of the code.
Good. Okay.
Uh,
Everybody got that?
I got it. We got a couple questions.
Good.
Is that all right?
Go right ahead.
Sure.
We've never had this come before us before, and I can understand somebody changing their mind, but I want to make, I'm concerned about making a precedent here. You know, if I get home and somebody, not that it happened to Councilman Longcart, but I get home and someone calls me and says, I can't believe you did this, we got a lot of people. I don't succumb to pressure, really. I don't like it. In fact, it really irritates me. But I don't know that council people in the future will have that same ability. And all I'm saying is, I'm not comfortable with taking this back and rescinding it. But if we have to have a full discussion about it again, then I'm willing to do that. I'd rather have that discussion today before we rescind it than to go back through it again in 2 more weeks and talk about it again.
Right. And what we'll do, if there is, and I suspect there will be, a motion to rescind, that will be an opportunity to have a conversation about the entire merits of what we should do, what we shouldn't do.
Not only the rescission, but
Not only the
about-
rescission, but since it does pertain directly to the action, you can bring up all the library stuff that you want to bring up.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Okay? So that conversation will be there. Yes, go ahead.
And this does not relate to the library subject, but as to motions to reconsider, your point is well taken, and it's actually addressed in the code.
Right, I read it.
And that's where it talks about if it's something where you cannot undo it, if there's a contract, if people relied on it. There's times where you are not allowed to do a motion to reconsider.
I read it.
Okay, good. Bill, you got
Like
what
to
you
make-
need? Go ahead.
I'm fine. I'd like to make the motion to rescind the vote of September the 18th.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to rescind the vote. Discussion. I'm going to kick it off because I'm the one that's not bashful all the time. Once this came about, I thought about it a little bit, and I do appreciate that the councilman had a change of heart or more information or whatever, but that doesn't change the opinion that I am of, which is I completely respect and look forward to supporting the library task force recommendation. I think that was well thought out. It was a unanimous vote on their part. I think that the good people at Lee County, at their staff, they went through and did exactly what they said they were going to do. The Lee County Commission went and did exactly what they said they could do, right exactly what we asked them to do. We also, besides this motion and besides this previous motion, we actually did a resolution which confirmed that and which told them that we were supportive of it. So we have that resolution out there as well. And I think that because of what has happened, nothing has really changed. Nothing has really changed except that we've changed our mind, or apparently some council have changed their minds, which I guess you're allowed to do. But in this case, I think that we need to treat people on the square. We really do. And I think that because we said we would follow through until such time that it was impossible or there wasn't any resolution, if the people at the library had come back and said, yeah, we can't do that, we're just not going to spend the money, then it's time to go. I would have been completely supportive. But as long as we were moving forward, I think that to do this, to suggest that going through with a special taxing district and having another elected board, another special taxing district, it's not less government, it's more government. It's not smaller government, it's bigger government. It's not government light. It certainly doesn't seem to be on a pathway that would increase your odds or your opportunity to have a library quicker. So in that regard, and that was long, sorry, but in that regard, I can't support the motion. And who else? Yes, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. Bill, with all due respect, you championed that library task force. You did a fantastic job with it, and I know the frustration that exists. But as Steve mentioned, I got back to my community, and they weren't happy with my vote. And I don't know if this is ex parte, if I talked to a library
Probably
task
would
force
fine.
member.
No, perfectly.
Okay, and they question why I voted the way I voted. So at this point in time, I'm going to vote to maintain the vote that 4-3 in September, and because I have to believe that the library task force have volunteers, they worked hard, and so let's keep it as it is.
Okay, yes, Martha.
Okay. I have no doubt that the library task force hasn't worked hard and looked at the issues, and our staff here at our library is, they're wonderful. The District 5 resident. But let me just tell you where I'm coming from on this. Ever since I've been on council and before I was on council, we've been tinkering, that's the right word, with the county about improving our library. And we've had several promises. So to say that they've done everything we've asked of them, that's not actually true. A certain council, and maybe that wasn't his place to say, but a certain commissioner told us, and we believed in good faith, that there was $4.5 million 6 or 7 years ago to build a new library, and we're going to move forward. Well, that didn't really manifest itself. We didn't really ever see that in the budget. We thought, okay, well, it's kind of strange. Mr. Lockhart knows what I'm talking about. Okay, we're playing and I believe in having good relationships. I think I have good relationships with the county commissioners. They're trying to do their job. We're trying to do ours. But we have a responsibility to our citizens. It's been since 1992 since we really had any expansive improvement, and you have heard the testimony from Bonita Springs Utilities about the kind of growth they've realized, the kind of growth we've seen in town. Yes, there's been differences in the way libraries are used in the past few years. But Fort Myers has 19 CRAs. We can't even get a TIF light project where we say, we're going to do this. We lost our beach passes. If we're talking about how equitably we're being treated in South Lee County, I've got to say, I think we need to put pressure on the county and say this is not right and it's not fair. For $2.2 million to be set aside in the capital improvements library budget for 2 libraries, that means, let's just say we split it in half and say that half of it will go to Bonita, half of it will go to Fort Myers. That's going to take 13 years and $50 million more dollars for us to get a $13 million library. That is not good money. That is not good, math. To say we're going to pay $15 million so we can get $13 million back. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from with that. I've seen, I saw Cape Coral put a nice squeeze on the county for a couple of things, and I have to say, while we, sometimes say they can have a very lively discussion at their meetings, they were successful in getting certain goals accomplished, and I just say that we're very nice people down here, and we always try to approach them with respect that their office deserves and the respect to the staff, but I would ask that we get some in kind, and I think the library is an example. So I'm not interested in sending another $50 million so I could get a library built in 13 years.
Yes, okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Stephen. Go ahead,
Mark-
Senator Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Simons, I agree with you. However, I want to go on record saying that if we don't see any action, then I'm all for moving away from the county. But this one last chance, that's it.
Okay,
It's been
thank you.
14 years.
Yes,
yeah.
go right ahead. Pete?
I almost feel like this is one of those issues where, depending on how you ask the question, that's probably the answer that you're going to get, or the opinion that you're going to, elicit, perhaps. If you were asked, if you knew that the city of Bonita Springs sent $47 million to the county and received $17 million back, would you be more likely, less likely, or undecided and how you'd like to proceed with the library system in Lee County? On the other hand, maybe what would an alternative question be? If you use the library 5 days a week, are you happy with the current library, or are you not happy with the current library? It's, it's one of the, it's, I don't want to say potato, but the reality is $47 million has gone to Lee County.
Nothing.
Perhaps we've received 17 back. That's a deficit of $30 million. $30 million of Bonita Springs taxpayers' money. And now we're being told, and we have been told for years, that there was 4 or 5 million for us, and now we're being told that 4 or 5 million's gone. To me, it's clear, crystal clear. It's not a matter of whether they do a wonderful job at the library. This isn't against the people that run the library.
No.
It's the management of the $47 million. Where has that gone? Where has that money gone? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Yes, I want to say
Oh,
something.
No,
oh, hold on. Let me. Are you
Go ahead,
all right?
Steve.
Go ahead.
It's okay. One other factor might be considered. Thank you, Peter, for your remarks, and Martha. The library in this last year, in their operating budget, they have a $7 million deficit. Now, I want to bring it back to your personal stuff, expenses and income. Can you operate your own personal household in any way, shape, or form like that and have a $7 million? And that's been going on for years. $7 million operating budget. They only take in $15 million. Their expenses are $23 million. Do you want me as a representative to think that that's a good idea? And obviously they have a history, and the history's not good, and that's the reason why I speak the way I speak, because it's so important to me, who lives in Bonita Springs for 20 years, and the many, many other people like the council here. I'm not about looking out for the county commission. I'm concerned with the people who live in Bonita Springs as an elected official. I have no axe to grind. I have no special. I only look out for the people who live in Bonita Springs, and I'm sick and tired of having to listen to rhetoric that doesn't go anywhere.
2 years.
And it does, and hasn't changed, even though we have, by the way, we have 2 county commissioners now, Larry Keuchel and Cecil Pendergrass, have done an excellent job while they've been there, but they've inherited the mess. And as you know, if you're looking at your tax bills this year, you're going to see a dramatic increase in the taxes coming from the county. Now, does that sit well with you as individuals and you out in TV land? It's wrong. It doesn't have to be that way, but it takes some people to stand up for what's right, and hopefully, over time, with the experts that we have in the city of Bonita Springs, starting with Carl, Audrey, Diane, Lisa, everybody. We are a well-run city and getting better every day, and we can do more things for the people without having to deal with some of the county things that have happened. Thank you.
Okay, Steve.
I guess I didn't expect this to be so emotional, but due respect to all the people in this council, there's nobody in here who's not bright enough to have an opinion. I'm a little unhappy that we would hold the county hostage for other issues by holding the library out there as bait. I don't think that's the right thing to do. Secondly, we asked Councilman Lockhart, and he did a great job leading that group. I think they looked at every detail. They looked at everything that needed to be thought about. They knew there was a deficit, and they think we should stay with the county. You know, that's we're supposed to be representative of the people who vote for us and try to run this city. I think more than anything, I think is going the wrong direction. Everything is going electronic. Building more bricks and mortar, we're going to be scratching our heads in 10 years saying, why in the world did we do this? Yeah, my folks go to the library. Your folks go to the library. My kids go home, turn on their iPads, and go to the library electronically. I'd love for them to pick up a book. It's not going to be happening in the future. When I called the guy that built, the architect, the strategist for the FGCU library, and I said, you just built a library in the last 10 years. What's the library of the future going to look like? And it's not going to be huge bricks and mortar. So shame on us if we allowed the county to take money away from us. Shame on us. It's, to pull up motherhood about taxes. We have a greater obligation to the people in this community. We have an educational responsibility through the library, and not everybody is as wealthy as what Bonita Springs is. If we support a county library that lets people get books and trade books and educate themselves, then yeah, we're spending a little money we probably shouldn't have to. But if we're looking at the greater good of this community, then I'm going to support staying in Lee County. because I don't think we have a better alternative.
Just to add one final thing for myself, and then we'll see what we want to do here. So far as it taking 13 years to build, I don't think that's correct, right? Yeah. It's not going to take 13 years to build a library. And so far as rhetoric that leads nowhere, I think we've been producing a lot of that of ourselves. I think that could be, people could point the finger at us too. Every time we point out, and I know that the facts are what they are, we put in 47 million. I can't tell you many times I've heard that, and it's true, but I have to live my life by, all right, I know what the circumstances were then. I know who the county commission was then. I know what they promised then. I need to work from here on. I can't do anything about what happened in the past, but what I can do is try to work with everyone and try to find out what's the best path towards our goal from this moment on. And yeah, it may be grating to you to have to work with a person that you think that, didn't give you the money when they thought they did. That may go against your grain, but it's the reality sometimes. Sometimes you got to make a business decision, and you got to make it. You can't just cut off your nose to spite your face. I think that in the case of starting a special district and another, like I said, another layer of government, another group of elected officials, I think I think that cure is worse than the disease, and I think that we have a clear-cut pathway right now, and that I would leave my comments at that. And anyone else before we call the question?
Yeah, and I just actually might vote along with Mr. Slatka, just so I can bring it back up again. Another layer of government is not a very good argument, especially when we just passed something for annexation for people in the north part of Pelican Landing, because you could say, well, that's another level of government for them. Not necessarily. This is just another way of operating what is already a level of service that's out there. So I don't know that it's another level of government. But
And
If I may-
we already exist.
But we didn't exist before, so the argument could have even been made.
Yeah, I understand.
The argument could even been made for the city of Bonita Springs Incorporation, that it was another level of government and we shouldn't do it because, we already have somebody controlling us. Well, that wasn't working for us, so we became a city. This is not working for us. I want to ask Mr. Lonkart, because he just said something. What is the potential, because you've been looking at this, for the operating? You were talking about a deficit. Is that going to continue underneath the current new taxing regime?
Well, I can only look back at the last 5 years, and it's the deficit has not been addressed. This year, it's being addressed by increasing your taxes. They're going to raise the general fund. They're also going to raise the library tax up higher, and that's normally what government does. When they don't have enough money, they raise taxes because of circumstances beyond their control. They just spent more than they were supposed to, and that's what happens with government. It has continued. I've been around the block a few times myself, and if I thought in any way that they had done some reasonable job over the period of incorporation in terms of our library, you notice there's a library in Estero now too, but that was funded correctly. But when you see operating deficits of millions of dollars, they have more than one in the county. There's other ones that are running a deficit. So that's why the taxes are going up dramatically. And that's what government does, except in Bonita.
Well, back to my floor. Okay, but my question was, and, to be fair to the county, we did go through a recession. They did swap out the taxes from one place, lower that, and then put it in another place. So they didn't overwhelmingly, that's not really fair to them. But with the new taxing regime, and that we're starting to realize some valuation increases and growth, can we expect that the money that's going to be raised through the library tax, in whatever time frame, I don't know, are we going to get a library? I just, and this, we're also looking at 47 million since 2000, okay? We actually haven't had improvements for 8 years before that, so we haven't calculated what the other 8 years is. So it could be as high as 70 million. I don't know. Our population wasn't as large. So I just would like to know if the money that's being generated by the new growth we're experiencing and the increase in the tax, what kind of money is that going to produce to get us a library?
John, what's the plan?
It's my understanding that the millage rate that was just set by the Board of County Commissioners on the library is enough to cover their operating expenses, projected operating expenses, and to set aside for capital. So hopefully that answers your question, that at least from their projections, the millage rate is set to generate sufficient funds.
I guess the question was, how long will it take to get us a library? They will raise money, but how long will we be paying into
I'm going
that?
to ask someone who probably knows
I
that
bet you,
question.
Mr. Shelton.
Would like to come forward there, Sheldon?
That's awesome. Thank you, Mayor.
And first of all, Sheldon,
Thank
thank
you,
you
Mayor.
for your patience, but we are kind of thoughtfully trying to go through this process, so I appreciate your patience.
And I appreciate the chance to answer your question. Just for the record, I'm Sheldon Kay, and I'm director of the Lee County. I have the privilege of being the director of the Lee County Library System. And just to add a little bit to John's response to the counselor, well, I'd like to actually make just a couple of comments.
You go
if I
right
may.
ahead.
You know, Councilor Lockhart, you noted that we operated at a deficit, and that was a deliberate thing. We did the commission did that because the library had a fund balance that was very high going into the recession, and so they chose to lower the millage rate to give taxpayers a tax break for a period of time until we spent our fund balance down to the point where, you know, it was barely non-existent. So in this last session, the commission, and that was always deemed to be temporary, and the commissioners reminded people that reduction in the millage was going to be temporary until the fund balance for the library system required us to revisit a higher millage rate. So they did that. In the last session, the millage rate was raised to an amount that was sufficient to meet our operating expenses. At the same time, they added an extra increment. It was 5 cents on the $100,000 valuation to create a sinking fund for essentially 2 library projects, one here in Bonita Springs and the other one is in North Fort Myers. That amount that the nickel that goes into that sinking fund will generate not $2.2 million, but $2.5 million a year. They set this for 10 years. We intend to build these. Excuse me, Commissioner or Councilman. That will be enough to raise $12.5 million in 5 years. And then another $12.5 million in the second 5 years. We intend to build the first library in that first 5-year period. We should be done. We can pay for this as we go. We don't need to wait till the end of the you're shaking your heads.
Oh, please go right ahead. It happens up here sometimes, but you go right ahead. Sir.
I'm trying to do the best I can.
You're doing great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. The whole intention is to pay for both projects in 10 years. The first one in the first 5 years, the second project in the second 5 years.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you very much. And would you have a question?
Yeah. So who's the first project?
Well, let's see what you decide to do. I would
Oh,
certainly.
well played, sir.
I would certainly
played.
advocate.
Well,
I would
will we get a commitment?
I would certainly advocate for Bonita Springs to be first.
Okay. Thank you very much.
you. Well, that might be-
I
but
really,
this-
I really appreciate it, and we'll see how this goes. But I personally want to thank you for everything you've done and for your patience and for working with our staff. You've done so in good faith. So I thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a real privilege, and thank you all for giving me an ear.
It's been our pleasure. Hang in there, okay?
Thank
Call the
you.
question.
Thank you.
Oh, you call a question?
May I just make a comment, Mayor? You already asked.
Okay, we're going to call the question now. Thank you very much to Sheldon. Yes.
I just want to make sure the motion on the floor
Is to reconsider.
was to reconsider by Councilman Longcart. So a vote of aye will rescind the prior action. A vote of nay or
Thank you.
no will
Yeah.
not rescind
No
it.
keeps things status quo. I rescinds the
But
motion.
again, status quo being,
No.
Supporting the library, keeping with the library.
do it again.
Status quo is a
A
no.
vote of aye will rescind the vote, that vote being shall we stay with the Lee County Library System? A vote of nay merely a vote of yes
Let-
will allow the
Let me put it this way. No stays with the library system.
Yep.
Aye doesn't.
Yep.
How's that?
Okay.
Okay, here we got it. Roll call.
Councilman Simmons,
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons,
So I can bring this up later? No.
Councilman Longcart,
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh.
Nope.
Councilwoman Martin,
No.
Councilman Slakta.
No.
Mayor Nelson.
No. Sheldon, go forth and build your library.
Mayor?
Oh, no, wait, our library.
Here.
Mayor, I'd like to see if this exercise was worth it to get a commitment to make us the first library, because it's been since 1992, and I'll be more than happy to bring this up again. Thank you, because then you'll have your second chance.
Got it.
Okay?
Good. Well, hopefully it won't be real soon.
Well played.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, council. And at this time, we are going to back up again. And let's see, city attorney's report.
Yes, we have one item on it, and that's a request to advertise an ordinance. Now, we are going to have some other permissions to advertise some ordinances coming up soon. This is on historic preservation. The ordinance is outlined in the green sheet. The one thing that is not in there is demolition delay. That needs to be delayed additional amount of time. The committee, Historic Preservation Board is still working through issues.
Okay, so right now, John, would you tell us a little bit about this? Where are they at right now?
There's
Sorry.
a new member included who's being brought up to speed. They're reconsidering some of the processes that would be involved if they were going to recommend a demolition delay component. So there's a lot of ifs there. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle. We don't want to rush them. And in order to let that process play itself out, the idea today is to bring forward the other changes that had been recommended to the Historic Preservation Board, almost all of which are clerical in nature.
Okay, good. So this permission to advertise, it's rather nebulous, the proposed ordinance at this time.
It's to correct things. For example, right now, they're reporting individuals. They'll be taken out of being reporting individuals. Right now, it mandates that the city attorney is there regardless of whether the subject matter warrants a hearing. So there are things that are important that should be done, but
This is a good way to get the process started and to get public
Absolutely.
comment, is to advertise it to where everybody can come to the
Yes,
party,
sir.
right? Good.
Mr.
Council, yes.
I just want to ask the city attorney, will the other things that are being worked on, because we don't like to spend money on advertising all the time, will they be brought into the process by the time we get to point
No.
Z?
no, as far as permission to advertise, this is only to take it for public hearings, probably in November and December, here we are down here, December 4th and December 18th. I do not anticipate that we will have things ready as far as anything else on historic preservation. The other ordinances that we are working on is Chapter 2 of the Land Development Code, and also the dock ordinance, which I'll be working with this afternoon with my intern, who is finishing up her
Cool.
project on it, and Michael Kirby.
Okay. Council, what's your pleasure? You want to send us to a permission to advertise?
Approved.
We have motion to permission to
Second.
advertise, and there's a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah. I just want to say that I'm glad to see this happening. I'm glad we're going to save Mr. Farber some time. But I also believe that that demolition delay needs to be there because we have the weakest historic preservation ordinance in South Florida. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comment? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Simons,
Aye.
Councilman Longcart.
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh. Councilwoman Martin.
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Slakta. Mayor Nelson.
Aye.
Councilman Simmons.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, Councilman McIntosh, I'm going to have to excuse myself and
You want a 10-minute break?
I'm going to leave. So would you like to come sit in the center chair? You want to come sit in that big chair?
I apologize, I'm doing the same.
Anybody else want to leave? Go ahead.
Follow me, I know the way. Thank you, Council.
See you, man.
Safe trip.
Do we have a quorum? Yeah. Yep.
Where are we? What are we up to? I'm sorry, I lost track.
We're at the city manager's report.
City manager's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Briefly, unless you have questions about the financial report, monthly financial report that was given to you, I have no further report.
Looks good.
We're to council member comments. Is that correct? All right. Councilwoman Martin.
All righty. I have a couple. Thank you very much. I just wanted to remind everyone that the Art and Public Places Board has put a call out to artists for the downtown mural program. So they're to contact Arlene Hunter at City Hall for more information on that, because that's an awesome program. And also, obviously, my buddy is here to remind everyone, Riverfest, it's from 10 to 3 this Saturday, and my buddy Spunky Taylor is going to be there from last year. I don't know if you remember who he is, but he's the 6-foot iguana that I got to hold. He's pretty awesome. So he'll be there for pictures too. We have the fish fry going on, the traditional fish fry going on at 4 o'clock, and tickets are still for sale here at City Hall. So need to do that. And also my buddies will be going down the river at 1 o'clock. So we need to get those sold and have as many as we can in the river for that, because that's a lot of fun. And then I just want to remind everyone, Halloween in the Park will be at Riverside Park on Halloween. And then this is one that I just want everyone to put on their calendars, because I know a lot of folks have asked me when this is going to be. And Saturday, November 9th is the tropical fruit tree sale at Riverside Park. So that's fun. And then also, please remember to visit, put it on your calendars now for season, the Wednesday Downtown Farmers Market is back up and running. So you know how much I like that. So thanks so much, and appreciate your support for all these events.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Slackton.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Fire District meeting on Monday, and a member of our Veterans Advisory Committee, Lieutenant Paul Canning, got the Distinguished Service Award, so it was really a pleasure and an honor to be there to see him receive that award. At the same meeting, the city staff and others received a piece of the Twin Towers artifact, and that was also congratulations to all those that worked so hard in putting that event together. Just a reminder, we'll have another meeting beforehand, but on November 8th, we will be starting. We have the Vietnam Wall here prior to Veterans Day, and at 1 p.m. on the 8th, we will have opening ceremonies. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Councilman Simmons.
I just want to, on a personal level, encourage anybody to attend the Estero High School this weekend. There's a lot of playoff implications for Pop Warner football, starting about 9 o'clock in the morning and running all day. My son's team has qualified for the playoffs. Daughter's team, I believe, needs to win, but we'll see what happens. Looking forward to going to Orlando on Friday with Carl to make a presentation at the Florida League of Cities. And as always, happy Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Simons.
Thank you, sir. Son, I want to address, I see it was under the mayor's item, under mayor and council member items, but the appoint a city council member to serve on the board for the Southwest Florida League of Cities. I'd like to ask you if you could just let me do that and pick, if you so choose, our good friend here, Councilman Simmons, as the alternative vote until January. So then when I'm out of here in February, he can step in. That would not preclude you, Peter, from running for the board if you wanted to do that, because you don't need to be a voting member to do that. And I think that'd be a good idea, by the way.
I think the mayor thought that was a good idea, too.
Yeah, so I'd like to ask that you appoint me, just so I can finish up the business that we all started over there.
Okay.
Okay? And then just for my items, we've got Riverfest coming up, fantastic, the beautiful Imperial River. It's gone down a little bit, it's not as fast, not as dangerous. Would have been fun last week. But we also, next weekend, we have the Swamp Buggy Show, the first annual Bonita Springs Swamp Buggy Show, which will benefit the Bonita Springs Historical Society. It's free to the public, but they'll have a raffle, and you can buy books from the Swamp Buggy expert, who has written a book about the history of swamp buggies. She'll be there. Bring some money for a donation. But if you're a grease monkey or a motorhead, you'll probably be in seventh heaven and be able to see these fantastic machines that guys build in their garage. I mean, they're like amazing. So Bonita Springs is the birthplace of Swamp Buggy, right at Benson's. And that's just a really cool bit of nostalgia for Bonita Springs. I want to thank the Naples, Fort Myers, soon hopefully to be another name, Naples Fort Myers Greyhound Track for sponsoring that event. They were very generous and very kind. And I guess coming to that entity, I wanted to ask, is anybody going to be going to the hearings for the slots? Are we going to like rent a bus or something and take people with us to advocate before these Senate, the state legislature's hearings? There's going to be 4, and somehow they've been strategically placed in places that don't have any gambling, which probably means that they're against gambling, and more likely they are. are we setting up transportation for that? Because I think that would be a good idea, and I think you probably get a few people on that bus. As far as where you'd get the funding for that, I'd say it's an economic development issue, and we have funding for economic development.
Okay. Well, we certainly plan to, I mean, you will have representation, I'm sure, from at least a couple of elected officials here, as well as a couple of staff members as well. But there is no plan to rent transportation, buses, and actually ship people to these places unless that's the direction of council. And I really would like guidance on that from council.
Well, I'd like to see at least one of those little 35 people, little guys, and I think we could probably get people to go. I'm pretty sure you could. And we work with our partners in town, they probably fill up the bus. And because they won't be hearing from anybody from our neck of the woods who knows what, they'll be talking about crime statistics and what's happened to the quality of life. We could speak to that.
Well, would you take on the responsibility of helping figure out if there's enough people to rent a 35-person bus, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, I think we could do it
Well,
between.
if council authorizes staff
Well,
to
my
rent,
question is, do you have enough people, period, to
I
even
think
go
you would.
about looking for such a thing?
I would agree with Councilwoman
Simons.
Simons. Sorry.
That's okay. It's hard.
That I think we can fill that bus. I think between the Chamber of Commerce folks, some of the
Dog
slot advocates, employees from the dog track, our folks, I think we can fill the seats
Fill that bus.
if council authorizes us to do that.
Well, I would.
I'd ask that we wait till the mayor returns before we make a final decision on that. Do we have enough time for that?
No, Mayor.
Yes. Just a moment, yes?
I would like to see if we could reach out to our partners on this so that we're not totally footing the bill for their bus like that, please.
It's probably about $1,000 for a day.
We don't know.
Yeah, well, that's about how much those cost, but I already have put in a question to our partners on this. And I didn't receive an answer back. But the meeting's October 23rd, and that's coming up right quick. So we either have to decide on this now and start making arrangements. But it's a minimal expense, and I think it would have an impact on their hearings. And I think
There
we
are
should
four
do that.
different meetings. We're only planning to attend the
One.
closest one,
Probably
which
Broward.
isn't all that close.
Right.
Right.
So,
Council, what's your pleasure?
Well, I make a motion that we fill that bus.
Is there a second?
Hey, hello.
Second.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye, fill that bus.
Okay, great. Anything
Great,
else?
thank you, Mayor. And, no, that ought to do it. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
be up at the, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I'm always wrong. Okay, I'm gonna also go to Orlando, and something that came across our desks this week was about springs protection legislation. I think that's gonna be discussed. I don't know that it's gonna have a huge impact on Bonita Springs. That's more for, northern Florida, where they really need to have that. But I'm sure there'll be something in there to help us in that regard. I'm just piecing it all along here. I heard Mr. Strakansky today. I was very glad to have the chairman of the board of directors of BSU come here and talk to us. I think I'm grateful to hear that they're going to do more of that. I want to thank you, Councilman McIntosh. I want to let people know, I believe this is right, the first and third Tuesday, they have a board meeting. Your water utility has a board meeting at Bonita Springs Utilities at 5 p.m. Is that correct? And that's at the nice place over there on East Terry Street. And you can go to their meeting at 11900 East Terry Street and voice your opinion and your comments and get involved in your utility, because we're all co-op owners. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Longcart.
Martha, please take a pillow when you go there. They have hard seats.
Okay. I don't need too much pillowing on my seat.
I mean, you really do need a pillow, because if the meeting's more than 22 minutes, it's tough. But I don't have anything else to say today, Steve. Thank you
very much. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you, council, for your willingness to listen to everybody's opinion. I know a lot of city councils and other commissions, elected commissions, don't do that. pretty obvious in Washington D.C., so I thank you for that. I think the mayor would would have appointed Councilwoman Simons back to her role and asked that Councilwoman Simmons take the alternate role for the League of Cities if you're willing to do that.
Thank you.
I have only one more thing, and it's, this is a bump in the road with our neighbor in Estero. We're going to get past this. The emotions are pretty strong right now with some folks. I have a vested interest. I understand that. But together, Estero and Bonita are much stronger in terms of our impact in Tallahassee, our ability to generate economic development. And regardless of what's been said this morning, I don't think Estero is going to pull out, and I clearly don't think they're going to keep our kids from being educated at a local high school. Those are things that someone speaking on behalf of the ECCL and Vote Estero folks that I don't think are happening. This is a great city. It'll be an even better area once we're through this, and we will get through this. Thank you, City Council, for your work. Thank you, City staff, for being committed. Thank you, citizens. We're adjourned.
Amen.
Approval of minutes?
Approval of the minutes. And
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
And roll call.
Deputy Mayor McIntosh.
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin.
Aye.
Councilman Slakta.
Aye.
Councilman Simmons.
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons.
Aye.
Councilman Longcor.
Aye.
Public comment, too.
And public comment before I raise this gavel one more
God
time.
bless you.
Rick was about to shoot me a dart. I know,
Oh, come
baby.
on now.
Come on, Rick. Get up here, Rick.
You're a novice.
That won't work.
I'm sorry. I was in such a hurry.
My question is there any water in Florida that isn't impaired? I bet you there isn't a bit of water in Florida that's not impaired. So we got impaired water. All the water is impaired.
Thank you. That's Rick Steinmeier, for those of you who don't know.
Kathy McGrath. Let me just mention again, talking about this gambling issue. If you've been reading the press, the only ones that seem to be speaking out are the naysayers, and they're speaking out loud and clear. They're getting all these studies about how it's not going to help and everything. So anyone out there who feels strongly about this, please express your opinion, because I don't like to use the term the vocal minority, but in this case, the ones that are against having any gambling are the ones that are speaking out. So stand up for what you believe in, and I think we need it here.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Alberto Bayer. First, I'd like to commend Councilman Lockhart. I find your gesture to have been courageous, very conscionable. I echo the support that you received from Councilman Simons, which I found to be very articulate, very sensible and eloquent indeed. I'm very sorry that the outcome was what it was, as so many of those that were responsible for electing our governing council. I am pained by the outcome. I wanted to follow up with regards to the issue relative to this septic tank matter of my next door neighbors. Because they abut my property, and the permit was pulled by Bonita Springs Utilities, by their subcontractor, Rohaley Plumbing, to install the pipes that should have been there, bypassing the septic tank. They left a mess that I inherited as the abutting property. I've asked Mr. Gulciardo to be so kind to favor me with a visit, as he, I understand, oversees the code enforcement office. I've also requested from Jane Swanson that she request the same courtesy from the city manager, to no avail in both cases. If any of you all, I would ask the councilman that is closest to me in our district, Mr.
Address your
Slakta,
comments
or
to me,
someone else,
Councilman
would like to
Shirley.
come and look at what I'm talking about, I think it would be merited. They wrecked my lawn. The street is disfavored by the wreck also. Despite the waters that have been significant in the recent past in terms of the rains, the debris remains. I want my lawn to be corrected by the subcontractor because it's a code violation when a construction project takes place. Part of what is part of this final inspection process in order to gain clearance is that their respectful in the cleanup process. So I would appreciate some answers in that regard also. And I would just like to reemphasize that the answers that are most important to me are those to my question that I had at during my first trip to the microphone. Anyone is allowed to request for the permit on any given property of any construction project. As a matter of fact, I got the permit number for the recent installation of the pipes that I just mentioned of my abutting neighbors. Why can I not get the permit number for the installation of the pipes by Rohaley Plumbing back when the pipes were installed in my property? My only conclusion is that permits weren't pulled, which is non-conforming. And if that's the case, we're all in this, because all the residents of Bonita are affected by this very delicate and, in my opinion, time-sensitive matter. Many thanks.
Anyone else? No, thank you,
No,
everybody,
you're
and we're
right.
adjourned.